Are you looking for a quick-growing, fast-fruiting, simple-to-care-for native shrub that will draw birds and pollinators to your yard? Well, you are in the right place because I'm going to cover 6 native shrubs that tick all of those boxes. Let's get right into it, starting off with the stunning common elderberry, Sambucus canadensis, which can be found growing just about everywhere in eastern North America. This widespread member of the viburnum family is best known for the berries it produces that are not only used by humans to make a variety of things, but are also eaten by an assortment of birds and other wildlife. It is also a host plant and supports many species of pollinators. It is a multi-stemmed shrub that often has arching branches and can grow from 5 to 12 feet tall with a 6 to 12 foot spread. Its growth form is dense but opens somewhat as the branches arch and provides excellent nesting and escape cover for songbirds and game birds such as the northern bobwhite. Elderberry is a thicket-forming shrub and will send up root suckers, a trait that makes it an excellent candidate for a native hedge. The root suckers are quite soft when they first come up, almost herbaceous, and are easily trimmed away if a thicket is not desired, or they can be dug up and transplanted to another location. Elderberry leaves are important to many species of moth caterpillars which feed on them. Most of these moths are small and drably colored and tend to go unnoticed, but their inchworm-like caterpillars are hunted by a ton of songbird species in the spring and summer to feed their young. Elderberry foliage contains a wide variety of phytochemicals that tends to make it unpalatable to most mammals, including deer. One of the things elderberry is known for are its brilliant white blooms, which can be seen from May through June, depending on location. The flowers have a sweet, somewhat musty scent and are self-fertile. Even though the flowers do not produce nectar, they are visited by honeybees and an assortment of native bees and flower flies that come to gather the pollen and pollinate the blooms in the process. The flowers are followed by clusters of small berries that start off green and ripen to a dark purple-black sometime in August and September, depending on location. The berries are eaten by an assortment of songbirds like the gray catbird and game birds like the wild turkey, and are also eaten by mammals such as squirrels and even reptiles like the box turtle. While bees and other pollinators visiting elderberry blooms and the caterpillars munching its leaves are obvious signs of how it benefits pollinators, it also helps out some native bee species in a very different way. There are many species of native bees that nest in twigs with hollow or easy to remove pith. One group of native bees that are commonly seen using elderberry as a nest site are the small carpenter bees, which create a hole in dead elderberry twigs to access and remove the pith, or they access it from a broken end. Other species only use the twigs once they have been broken or cut, so you can help them out by pruning elderberry occasionally and giving them access to the pith. I have done a deep dive video that covers common elderberry in detail that I will link in the description. If you love learning about native shrubs that provide food for birds and critters and are great for pollinators and caterpillars too, then be sure to pollinate that like button. Next up is the American hazelnut, Corylus americana, the most widespread hazelnut in eastern North America. It is a large shrub and can grow to 10 to 16 feet tall with an 8 to 13 foot spread. It tends to grow slowly and forms a multi-stem clump and can create thickets. The male flowers, called catkins, are long, yellow, and appear in the spring before the leaves. The small female flowers open at the same time, but are tiny, about the size of a pencil eraser, and look like a bud. Only the bright red stigmas protruding from the end of the flower make them noticeable. American hazelnut flowers early, from March through April in most areas. The female flowers form in the nuts, and the involucres, the leaves that surround the nuts, are very distinctive with frilly edges and resemble tiny cabbages. The nuts and involucres will turn brown as they ripen from September through October. Hazelnuts are wind pollinated, so they do not produce nectar to attract pollinators, but they are still a source of pollen. The catkins are often visited by native bees and honeybees to gather this early season protein source. It is also a host plant for at least 25 species of moths and butterflies, including the polyphemus moth. The most obvious value of hazelnuts to wildlife are the nuts they produce. All critters seem to love them, from mice to deer, and especially squirrels. In fact, if you want to try them for yourself, you're going to have to time it just right, or the critters will get them all. Birds such as wild turkey, northern bobwhite, ruffed grouse, larger woodpeckers, and jays also feast on the nuts. Just as important as the food they provide is the excellent cover provided by hazelnut. Its thick foliage and dense branching, multi-stemmed and often thicket-forming growth habit provides excellent nesting and escape cover for a multitude of songbird species. The dense overhead cover with open ground beneath it is also vital for grouse broods and for feeding and brooding cover for the declining American woodcock, possibly the coolest bird in North America. A bonus to the hazelnuts is they have great fall color. The early bloom, good-looking spring and summer foliage, and the fall color give hazelnut nearly a year-round visual appeal. I have done a more in-depth video that covers both the American hazelnut and our other native species, the beaked hazelnut, that I will link in the description. The title of this video refers to fast-fruiting shrubs, but what exactly does that mean? All the shrubs in this video are likely to start producing fruits or nuts around 2 to 3 years of age, if you plant started nursery stock and are not starting from seed. Now we come to the impressive swamp rose, Rosa palustris, which is also found in nearly all of eastern North America. Swamp rose has an impressive upright form and tends to form a thicket much more slowly than the other species in this video. Under most conditions, swamp rose will grow to be 3 to 6 feet tall with about an equal spread. As the common name, and also the scientific name, if you know your Latin, suggests this is a rose of wet to moist acidic soils with a high level of organic matter. It can't grow in standing water, but does handle occasional flooding well. The blooms of swamp rose are around 2 inches in diameter and in varying shades of pink. The flowers have a distinctive orange to red center, which sets swamp rose apart from the other native wild roses. Blooming generally occurs from May to August, depending on location. The abundant red, round, half-inch diameter hips ripen from September to October. The colorful, sweet-scented flowers do not produce nectar, but the ample pollen they produce is gathered by many species of native bees, especially bumblebees, and even a longhorn bee that is a rose pollen specialist. Honeybees also gather pollen from the wild roses, and it is also eaten by a colorful assortment of beetles. Rose foliage is fed upon by many species of insects, including sawfly larvae, and up to 102 species of caterpillars that will use rose as a host plant, including the impressive caterpillars of the equally impressive Cecropia moth. Of course, all those caterpillars are an important food source for songbirds, especially during the nesting season. Wild roses also feed songbirds and game birds through the fall and winter with an ample supply of highly nutritious rose hips. The hips are quite persistent and will remain on the rose shrubs through the winter, at least until they are all eaten. Not only do the hips feed birds, but they are also sought out by small mammals, such as squirrels, and even larger critters like deer. Rose hips are also edible to humans and are often used to make a soothing tea. The wild roses provide more than just food though. They provide dense, thorny cover for feeding, resting, and nesting songbirds, a place to take cover from predators for small mammals and reptiles, and provide nest-making material for leafcutter bees and nesting sites for native bees that create nesting chambers in hollow twigs. The native wild roses are so much more than just pretty flowers. If you do not have an area of wetter soil or a rain garden in which to plant a swamp rose, there are many other awesome native roses which I covered in a video that I will link in the description. The idea for this video came from a comment one of our Backyard Ecology community members posted. If you love nerding out about native plants, how to grow them, how to choose them for the biggest impact for pollinators and wildlife, and cool facts about them, and you want to connect with people who feel the same way and get some guidance as you travel along your habitat journey, then I encourage you to check out the Backyard Ecology community. This is the place that backyard ecologists come together to make their habitat dreams come true, share in wins, and work through problems together, all without the negativity of traditional social media. Not only that, but members of the Backyard Ecology community have direct access to Shannon and myself, and we do 2 live virtual meetups every month where members can ask questions such as, what do I plant? When do I plant? How do I put in a water feature? Does Anthony own any other clothes other than to be's or not to be shirts? I know some of you are wondering. Seriously though, if you love native plants and creating functioning ecosystems on your property, even if you're just starting out, especially if you're just starting out, then the Backyard Ecology community is the place for you. It'll help you save time, money, and a whole bunch of heartache as you try to make your habitat dreams come true. I encourage you to check out the Backyard Ecology community. I will put a link for more information in the description. Now for a shrub dogwood. The Silky Dogwood, Swida amomum, is found across much of the eastern U.S., has a dense thicket forming growth habit, in a smaller size, growing from 6 to 12 feet tall with an equal spread. It grows in a wide range of moist to wet soils and can tolerate full sun to full shade. Clusters of small white flowers will bloom from April through June, depending on location, and are followed by dazzling blue berries in August through October. Silky Dogwood has excellent fall color in shades of dark yellow to reds, and the persistent blue berries look awesome against them. The twigs are an eye-catching red. Silky Dogwood and other thicket-forming dogwoods like the red osier dogwood and the gray dogwood are host plants for around 98 species, including the spring azure butterfly and the polyphemus moth. They also support several pollen specialist bees in the genus Adrena, also known as mining bees. In addition, butterflies, bees of all types, and other pollinators visit the blooms. The thicket dogwoods are keystone species and pollinator powerhouses. When it comes to value for wildlife, it is hard to beat the thicket dogwoods. They provide food and cover for a huge assortment of critters. The dense thickets are used for escape, loafing, and nesting cover for all manner of birds, from small songbirds to larger game birds such as wild turkey, ruffed grouse, and northern bobwhite. Mammals from field mice to rabbits to white-tailed deer also seek refuge in the thickets. The berries are high in fat and are a preferred food source for songbirds, game birds, small mammals, and even black bears. They are an important food for migrating songbirds in the fall. The leaves and twigs are preferred browse for deer, elk, and in more northern areas, moose. If there are large herbivores around, thicket dogwoods are going to get browsed, but they bounce back quickly from it with no adverse effects. I have made a video covering our native thicket-forming dogwood species in detail that I will link in the description. Most of the species in this video will spread from root suckers, some faster than others, so keep this in mind when planting them. Suckers are generally easy to control by cutting when they are small, if you want to remove them, or they can be dug up and used to propagate more shrubs. Who doesn't love free plants? Next we have one of our awesome native blueberries, the Deerberry, Vaccinium stamineum, which is found throughout eastern North America except in the upper Midwest and the far northeast. It is a large, multi-stem shrub that can reach 5 to 15 feet in height with a 6 to 12 foot spread. Like other Vacciniums, Deerberry will spread by rhizomes to form a thicket. One thing that sets it apart from other blueberries are its flowers, which are much more open and have long stamens that extend from them. Deerberry in full bloom is spectacular. The distinctive flowers bloom from March through June, depending on location, and are followed in August and September by quite large, by blueberry standards anyway, green to red or purple berries. Wildlife of all types relish the berries, and they are often fed upon by deer, hence the shrub's common name. While the berries are large and edible, they are considered tart compared to most other blueberries and are mainly used to make jelly. Like most blueberries, the Deerberry prefers well-drained, moist to dry, acidic soils and will handle full sun to part shade with best fruit production in full sun. Blueberries are important keystone shrubs in North America, and they are used in many ways by pollinators and wildlife. The vase-shaped blooms are attractive to a wide range of butterflies and native bees, and they support 14 species of pollen specialist bees. The foliage is important to butterflies and moths too, and blueberries are a host plant for around 217 species of caterpillar, including the impressive chunky green caterpillars of the huckleberry sphinx moth. Of course, the berries attract a ton of birds and mammals, which dine upon them. Birds will nest in blueberry thickets and use them as escape cover, along with many species of mammals, reptiles, and amphibians. Deer do have a taste for blueberry bushes, so be sure to protect them well when getting blueberries established. Deerberry is just one of many native blueberry species. I made a video a while back covering 9 of the most commonly available that I will link in the description. As with most fruit and nut producing shrubs and trees, the species in this video will produce best if there are multiple individuals planted to provide cross-pollination. They don't necessarily need to be right next to each other, but they need to be close enough that cross-pollination by either insects or the wind, depending on the species of shrub, is likely to occur. And now we have another nut-producing shrub, the Allegheny Chinkapin, also known as the dwarf chestnut, Castanea pumila. Allegheny Chinkapin is found mainly in the southeast. This map shows it is native to Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, but it is only found in Indiana and Ohio along the Ohio River Valley, and in Pennsylvania in the southern half of the state. It is also only native in Missouri along the Arkansas border. Like its larger relative, the Allegheny Chinkapin produces nut-filled burrs, but unlike the American chestnut, the chinkapin only produces one nut per burr, which will ripen from late August through October, depending on location. The nuts are small, about the diameter of a dime, and are eaten by a wide variety of wildlife, including northern bobwhite, wild turkey, larger songbirds, deer, squirrels, and other small mammals. The nuts of the Allegheny Chinkapin are sweet and quite edible. Many say better than chestnuts, but good luck beating the critters to them. It is quite precocious and can start producing nuts in as few as 2 to 3 growing seasons. A chinkapin in full bloom is quite a sight, as the white flowers form in long, thin spikes that seem to cascade from the branches. The showy spikes of white flowers are wind pollinated, but the ample pollen is collected by native bees and honeybees. Bloom occurs from May to July, depending on location. Male and female flowers occur on the same shrub, but Allegheny Chinkapin is self-sterile, so in order to produce nuts, more than one will need to be planted. In addition to providing pollen for bees, the Allegheny Chinkapin is used by a wide variety of other insects, and is the host plant for at least 29 moth species, including the hickory tussock moth. Allegheny Chinkapin grows naturally as a small, usually 10 to 15 feet tall, with a 6 to 10 foot spread, multi-stemmed, thicket-forming shrub. Under certain circumstances or with training, it can grow as a taller, single-stemmed, small tree. It is somewhat blight resistant, and even if killed back to the root system, it will resprout with no ill effects if the roots are healthy. I have a video that goes into much more detail on the Allegheny Chinkapin that I will link in the description. The native shrubs in this video are great for birds and critters because of the fruits and nuts they produce, along with the dense cover they can provide, and are absolute pollinator powerhouses, providing nectar and pollen to a wide range of bees and other insects, and as host plants for caterpillars. As great as native shrubs are, they are just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to creating a backyard habitat. And if you would like to learn more about the process of creating your own backyard ecosystem, check out this video and be sure to take some time and enjoy nature in your backyard.